Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Spiritually Speaking. Today, my beautiful guest is Bonnie, and I'm so excited to have you here, Bonnie. Thank you for accepting my invitation to be my guest.
Yes, of course, Dee. I'm excited to chat with you again. We had a really lovely conversation when we connected, and I can't wait to see what comes up.
Yes, me too. So tell us all about yourself and your journey, whatever you'd like to share with us. That's what we're ready to
Oh
hear.
gosh, I feel like I could run in like 100 different directions right now. Let me organize that one. I guess I'll start with, the most important things to me. I'm a wife and a mother. I homeschool my two children. I have a 9 and a 13-year-old. They are a huge, important top of the list for my life. And outside of the motherhood that seeps into every part of my being. I'm also an artist. I'm a painter, and I call myself like a creative director. I'm like a brand strategist. I do websites for people. I help them develop their messaging. I offer astrology and human design readings. I integrate those into my work that I do with other entrepreneurs and small businesses, helping them kind of just align everything to do with their business from the visuals to the more like behind the scenes kind of foundational stuff and smart systems. Like there's a lot there. There's a lot there that I do with that part of it.
There is a lot. So tell us about the more spiritual aspects of your business, the astrology and that kind of thing.
Yeah, so I've been on my own kind of spiritual journey for probably the last maybe 5, 6 years. I've always been kind of spiritual, and I grew up in a semi-religious household. But my mom was always like very open, I would say. My mom was very open-minded, and we did the church thing. But then as I got older and kind of all through my life, I was kind of curious about the horoscopes, and I loved crystals and just, all the pretty like earthly elements I think have always interested me. And then as I got older, I kind of like started to become more aware of really like the depths of our being, like, and just the interconnectedness of it all. And then when I started painting, I was kind of like even more fascinated with the natural world. I paint a lot of like flowers and just really like natural, intuitive painting style, but it gets me out and I garden, so that's also kind of like something else that I enjoy. And I don't know, I'm so fascinated by I feel like we just all live in this terrarium together. Like that's how I see the
Oh,
world.
what a beautiful way to
Um,
look at it.
and yeah, it's just I don't know, it's like how can you not believe in something greater, whatever that is, when you just I'm looking out my window right now. I'm like I turned my desk recently and I'm distracted by the outside, but it's a beautiful distraction. But yeah, I mean, we just there's there's so much here for us when I think about, between just when I'm looking outside and like the trees and the flowers, and that can like inspire my painting, and then, at night I can look up to the stars and just be in awe there. And the more that I started learning about the ideas of astrology and human design and got introduced to that, and kind of when I find something new that interests me, I'm like, boop, straight to the bottom of the hole. Like I dive right in. So when I started doing all of that stuff and really like a lot of introspection, a lot of like that personal growth and development stuff, that has been such a huge focus of mine over the last several years. And it just, I feel like there's so much there, and it's this constant unfolding and understanding and like deeper and deeper into the layers of that. Um, I don't know. It's amazing. It's amazing all we can learn about ourselves and the way that we interact with each other. And it helps me in my parenting, I think. Makes me a better wife to have that understanding of like myself and my husband. It's just amazing.
Yeah, it is pretty amazing, all the interconnectedness.
It's a big one.
Interconnectedness. It is. My dad would say I got my tongue tangled around my eye teeth and I couldn't see what I was saying. So
Good
tell us
one.
about more about the layers. I love that piece of it. So I would love to hear you expand on that some.
Yeah, so when I think of the layers, I mean, gosh, I feel like, so many of us when we think of like the astrology stuff, we're like, oh, I'm a Sagittarius. And like, yeah, but that's just one very, very small piece of the puzzle. And like when I think about, I mean, gosh, there is so much there. I feel like I have to organize that one. I mean, for me, really recently, I think. I'll go there, I guess, since it for me really recently I've been kind of more drawn to working with, and when I say recently, I mean like the last couple of years, the idea of like my North Node being in, I have my North Node sitting in Taurus in my fourth house. Fourth house is all home, family, security, themes of that nature. And for me, that I'm seeing layers because for so long I really only saw in like, years and years ago, my sun in Sagittarius, and I'm like this adventure seeker. Like I'm hard to tie down. I just, I'm like I need a lot of freedom, and that's still true. But when you start to look at the layers and the way that that balances with all these other elements in my chart, like that North Node and my moon are both sitting in that fourth house of home. The moon is like very much, like our safety net. I think of it like our safety net, and it just kind of reemphasizes for me how important my job here is at home.
Hmm.
And then that North Node is like I look at the North Node as like our North Star. It's like where we're headed in this life. It's what we're meant to like reach for and deepen into and things like that. And for me, that South Node on the other end sits in Scorpio in the 10th house, and that 10th house is all career. And Scorpio is very like a lot of depth and transformational themes. And so that South Node I also consider being something that like we mastered in a past life. I look at
Oh,
it that way.
interesting.
And so when you come into this life, a lot of times we default into that South Node theme because it feels comfortable for us. It feels like what we're supposed to be doing for a long time. And so I think for a long time, I really felt like I had to like drive for the career stuff.
Hmm.
And then when I had this new understanding and like started to understand the themes of that South and North Node, and I started seeing like, oh, okay, there's a reason that I'm homeschooling and that this kind of like, shaped and morphed into this life that I'm living. And and that is kind of in constant conflict for me. They sit directly opposite each other, and there's a lot of like push and pull with those energies because I do want a career and I do want to do all of these things that I do, but I have to balance that with my home life, and that's really interesting. But it offers me like a deeper, when you ask about the layers, those are the kind of layers that I'm talking about, where you can really kind of go deep and understand what kind of dynamics are at play, and kind of a why behind why I felt that kind
Right.
of conflict, and like, oh, I want to be here but I want to be there, and it's literally in my chart. And there's so many pieces like that exist in the chart that can just really open up things and take you to deeper places. And just yeah.
That sounds amazing. And like for you, it really helped you understand yourself a lot better. So I can see how that would be true because it gives you those additional puzzle pieces to create a better picture for you.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. And then, there are other placements for me that I feel like over time have just kind of like unfolded to show me what I'm meant to be doing with my work. And like that's so powerful for me because I feel like for a long time I had all of this spirituality in my life, kind of more behind the scenes, and it was, my private practice, let's say. And I was using it, to some extent in my own business, but then I'm like I kind of like had this epiphany coming across something where like having deeper understanding of placements in a chart that show you what you're supposed to be doing
Mhm.
professionally, and who you're meant to work with, and how you're meant to help other people. And for me, I have Pisces in my second house. The second house has a lot to do with how we create financial security for ourselves.
Mhm.
Pisces is the most spiritual zodiac in the chart. And I'm like, oh,
Mhm.
okay, I'm supposed to lean into this.
Yeah.
And it just it unravels and opens a lot. Yeah, I could go on and on probably with a lot of different placements.
Yeah. No, I love it. I find it absolutely fascinating. And I know that other people are curious about astrology as well and don't understand it. And every astrologer explains things a little bit differently. So it's finding the person who resonates with you and how their speech kind of allows you to understand it better for your own self. So I love the way that you just explained it because I haven't heard it explained that way before. And I really do love that. That's beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's true for all industries, really, no matter what you're doing, if you're life coaching, if you're a chiropractor, like whatever you're doing,
Yeah.
people are gonna connect with you on literally the same topics that are just, the nuance of the language makes it, receivable for certain people from certain people, I think. They just
Yeah.
connect with it certain ways. So,
Absolutely. And it's our energy too, I feel, when we receive the message, because I just recently heard something by a big time millionaire coach, actually. And I had heard it before multiple times. And when I heard it this time, I was like, holy shit. I, it just like hit me, and then uh, about a week later, and yesterday actually this happened. I was at work and I had such clarity. An incident happened at work and I had such clarity, and I heard her voice in my head saying this thing, and it completely changed my whole entire perspective. It
yeah, I
was
think
so incredible. So I
timing.
feel like our energy, yes, timing, our energy has to be in the right space to receive that message.
Yeah, I feel like that happens to me all the time. And and I see that also when I'm looking at my own chart, or even sometimes when I do a reading for someone else. It's
Mhm.
like in that moment I might see all these things and I'm like, oh yes, this is what I'm supposed to be looking at. Like this, stands out to me for whatever reason. And like the next day I'll be like, I'll just get a download and be like, oh my God, her thing is here, and I'm like, okay. I have to like message him back. I'm like, I saw this, after the fact, and it everything in its right timing, and we have to be ready to receive it, and it has to be delivered in a way that we understand it. That's,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so profound when it happens. And it can be the simplest little thing, an idea, like I said, that you've heard multiple times, and it just all of a sudden it clicks into place. And it is absolutely transformational. It truly, truly is.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the little tiniest keys, right?
Yeah. And so do you feel like since were able to open up these additional layers to yourself, that has shifted things for you and changed the way you live your life even?
Yeah, hugely, hugely. And I expect it will continue to like deepen and change, and I'll, start to see nuanced little aspects in my chart that are like, oh, okay. And which that happens all the time now.
Yeah.
And I also, I mean, I don't only look at astrology, I also look at human design, which is also built on astrology and the I Ching. And I also study the gene keys. And I love, I, I love each of the systems, but I love them even more together,
Yeah.
because they offer a different language, a different lens to like see the same kind of concepts through, and a different way to study, yourself or a situation or to navigate challenges. I mean, it's like
Yeah.
endless possibility.
So tell us more about the gene keys. So there a funny little story. When I first heard that phrase, I heard it from the person who was talking about it as jinkies instead of gene keys. Like, I
Yeah.
was like, what's a jinky? You know? So could you explain to us what gene keys are and what they mean for us?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not an official Gene Keys guide, so I'm probably not like the ideal person to share on it. I more use it in my own personal practice, and I take very specific Gene Keys and positions in someone's profile to add to the other work that I do. But let's see, how would I explain the Gene Keys? What is the Gene Keys to me? Um, the Gene Keys is like they've added a new whole layer that I'm not super familiar with too to the profile, but so you have what they call an activation sequence, which is like a four main things that are kind of run through the chart that speak to your life's work, your evolution, so like something that you're meant to overcome in this lifetime, like what you're kind of like growing through. A radiance sphere, which is one that I really love to look at with people because that speaks to what keeps us healthy. And it can be in a physical sense, and it can also be in more of like a relational sense. And then also a purpose sphere, which I have like the most challenging gene key in the whole thing, I think, for the purpose sphere, but this is the 55. And if you read in the Gene Keys book, it's like I don't know, like 10 pages and all the rest are like two or three. It's just like
Wow.
it's like a deep one. Um, but and then you have a whole sequence called the Venus sequence in the middle that is all related to like love and relationships, and a lot of that has specific keys that relate to specific 7-year periods through childhood that shaped development.
Mm.
And there's a core wound in there. There's just there's a lot. And then you also have what is the third one called? What is the third one called? Activation sequence. I'm blanking. I don't know.
You'll come to
Um,
it.
yeah, it probably will. But that then the third one is where your life's work, that core wound turns into your vocation, like your
Mm.
kind of job in this lifetime. The culture sphere, which relates to the way that you'll connect with others to fulfill your purpose, I guess. And then the pearl, which is like it sounds, kind of that like real powerful center that speaks to um, your prosperity, and not just in a financial sense necessarily, but in a real fulfillment, prosperity sense. And that culture sphere and the vocation and a little bit the life's work, which the life's work is the same as your sun sign. So they all relate. And so when we can look at it, those are the main ones that I would say I look at with people when I'm helping them with their business stuff would be that life's work, the culture, so that they understand how they're meant to work with others. Some of us are intended to be in partnership, some of us are intended to be more solo or in a group, or there's a lot of nuance there. And then that radiant sphere, I feel like is really important for people to anchor themselves into so that they can avoid things like burnout. Um,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, we definitely want to avoid burnout. So many of us do. We have and we're taught it, like work hard and strive, strive, strive and push, push, push. And, being tired and exhausted because you had this really long, hard day is celebrated. And
yeah,
it doesn't have to be that way.
yeah,
I feel like we're shifting out of that a lot,
definitely.
actually, which is amazing. It's just there's still so many people in that grind. And with what I do as a job right now, I see it all the time. And I even said to my friend last night, I said, it's amazing. Like I look at these people and they hate their jobs. They're so miserable and they're so just dedicated to it. Like
Yeah.
it's like you can see in them that they have no idea what exploring another option even looks like.
I
Like they
think a
don't
lot of people
even,
feel trapped. A lot of people feel
yeah,
trapped. I mean, I see that for my husband. He's got a love-hate relationship with the work, but he feels a little trapped. He feels a little bit trapped in it. So I could see how that plays out for people. And
mhm,
yeah, I mean, I personally believe that we are in a state of transition
yes,
for the way that we're working and living. And I think the world is going to look really different in 10 years or so, maybe even 5 years.
yeah. I believe that too. And do you know who Pam Gregory is? She's an astrologer.
I don't. That's not a
Oh,
familiar name.
check her out. She's
Yeah,
she's
I'll have to.
incredible. And I just was listening recently to an interview with her, and one of the things she said is like 2 years, things are going to look so different in
Yeah,
2 years.
that's
And
2027, but I see that more the great change. They speak about this in the Gene Keys and also
uh-huh,
the sense of human design in 2027. We shift from the cross of planning that we've been in for the last 400 years into the cross of the sleeping phoenix, where everything will shift, but I don't believe it to be like a light switch. I think we've been in
right,
this shifting and it
yes,
will continue to shift, beyond 20, because we're talking 400-year cycle. It's not,
right.
it can't be, it can't be a light
Yeah,
switch.
right. But it'll be noticeable. And that's what I feel is
Mhm.
that it will be I mean, like I don't, the name of my business is Eternal Soul Evolution. I feel like we're always evolving, that things never
Yeah.
stay still. So I believe, like you said, it will continue to evolve. However, I do also feel like it's going to be a really noticeable thing that we're going to all of a sudden realize, well, it'll be all of a sudden for some of us.
Yeah.
It won't be all of a sudden for some of us, but we're going to notice that we're in a completely different space than we once were. And she talked about the two, because she was specifically asked about the two worlds, like the 3D and the 5D kind of thing. So how do you feel about that? I would love to get your perspective on that.
The 3D, 5D thing. I feel like I heard it explained some way, and I wish I could remember because it really landed for me. But it was like, I think I am reluctant to kind of feed into the idea of a 3D and a 5D. I think it's a very like, I don't know how to explain it, but like isolating kind of idea to think that like, oh, I'm more aware, like I live in 5D and you are still down there in 3D. Like I don't like how that feels. I feel like um I don't know, I believe that there is some kind of shift happening there, and clearly the some sort of level of consciousness and awareness to
Yeah.
kind of the depths of the world and the universe are definitely, becoming more prominent. I think more and more people are, leaning into spirituality and concepts like this. But I feel like some of that like 3D, 4D, 5D, the idea of that is really, I don't know, it's just like polarizing, and it's not an integrated, I don't know, I don't like it, I think. I don't
Yeah.
like it, I think. I feel like it isolates people. It
Mhm.
speaks to like being more aware than others, and like it's just a little hierarchical, I guess.
Yeah.
I, I don't know. It doesn't resonate for me too much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like there's always going to be a smattering of, just like there is now, people who do have a different perspective on things and people who choose not to. And it is a choice as far as I'm concerned. That's the way I see it, is it's a choice to stay stuck in, because stuck is a mindset. It's not an actuality,
Hmm.
but some people are going to stay there. They're just not meant to in this life to evolve past that state. They're going to
Yeah.
continue to hold on to those old cycles and those old beliefs, and then they're not going to be able to expand into a different way of thinking. And my personal belief is, and I heard it explained this way, and I completely agree with it, is that it is all happening at the same time. So it's not separate. It's not going to be this old world, this new world. It's going to be the mindset thing. If you choose to stay in that mindset, then that's where you exist. And if you choose to expand into a different mindset, that is where you exist. And I don't feel like the people who are in those expanded mindsets are going to look down on or feel separate from the people who haven't. I just feel like they're going to meet those people where they are, you know?
Yeah. I feel like whatever I had saw recently kind of spoke to this idea that, and I wish I could remember if it was like 40 was thinking this or if I don't know, but it was like essentially, I think maybe it was speaking that like 4D is like where you can see the 3D, the idea of 3D, but you can also see the idea of 5D, but you're stuck in that place of like maybe resentment or like just, I don't know, like you're not really in acceptance of, the idea that we're all sitting at different levels of consciousness. It's like you have an intolerance. And like
Gotcha.
when you get to a higher level, then you're more open and you're like, oh, everyone's on their own timeline. We're all
Yeah.
just on our own timeline. And then you're like just living in a little bit more harmony, I think. And
Yeah.
for me, I feel like I do see it that way. I just don't know that I like the label. And it's like
Oh, yes. Us humans, we love to label everything, don't we? I
these
feel
days
like
we definitely do.
there is a purpose for labeling, though, because our human vocabulary is so limited that we have to have a way for people to understand what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And those of us who aren't big fans of labels, we kind of say them with a very loose presentation as opposed to something that's really tightly wound, you know?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me too. Like, I feel like I lean that way because I don't really love the labels, and I feel like there's 50 shades of gray at least. And especially as an artist, I'm like, I feel like I see a billion shades of like every color. Like it's just,
Yes.
and I feel like I look at life that way too. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's a very beautiful way to look at life as far as I'm concerned. It's just I love being able to see things like that and explore and expand and find things interesting and be curious about it because I feel like curiosity is what enables us to learn, you know, and the perspective on that. I met a lady at work one day and she had her little grandson with her and he was maybe 18 months old or so. And she said, and I was like, wow, he doesn't miss a thing, does he? I could just tell his eyes were on everything and he was just taking it in. And she goes, oh, he is so nosy. And I go, he's not nosy, he's curious. You know, and I looked at the little boy and he's like looking dead at me into my eyeballs, like soul to soul kind of look, you know. And I said, don't ever lose that curiosity, you know, because I feel like that's what enables us to learn and grow that curiosity, just questioning things and how it can look and be different. And I think it's beautiful.
yeah, yeah. I feel like we're gonna need that now more than ever. Like
Yeah.
machines taking over things. It's like we need people who are asking questions and digging deeper and thinking, like
Yeah.
thinking. Yeah,
Because, you know, the human standpoint is, I mean, that's why we have, so that's why we are souls, right? Because it's that depth that we can look at and perceive things from and feel into them. I mean, that's the whole purpose of us having these human experiences so that we can feel things, taste things, touch things. And that can't be done from, you know, a
yeah,
computer perspective. It can go deep, but it doesn't have the soul.
yeah. It's got a lot of logic. Like it
A
can
lot
build
of
it
logic.
on logic. Yeah.
Yeah. And logic is good. I mean, let's face it, it keeps us on the correct side of the road when we're driving, keeps us from burning ourselves up in the shower.
Yeah.
However, some things aren't that neat and tidy, like you said. And that's why I feel like we aren't a big fan of labels, is because it's not always that tidy. It's not. I guess it's
Yeah.
just a fact.
Yeah. That like reminds me, I wrote a blog post recently that speaks to I think the title, the new creative superpower is strategic discernment. And it's like, because I live in this creative digital space where I'm, a graphic designer and creating websites and, doing things like that, that technically a machine is already can do some of that and it's going to be able to do a whole lot more of that. I feel like a lot of graphic designers, photographers, anyone who's kind of feeling the threat of AI are scrambling to declare this is human work.
Right.
Um, and that the idea of that blog post is that, we really need to lean into some of those things that like, what can I do that no machine can do?
Right.
And that's kind of the basis of the blog post. And the idea there is creative discernment, because I don't know if you've played with any of the GPTs and stuff, but you can end up steered in a direction that you didn't intend to go based on, whatever conversation you're having. And if you don't have that foresight, that, bigger vision, you can end up kind of pulled in different directions and not really making the moves that are moving the needle, if that makes
Right.
sense.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, it all has to be aligned. That's how I feel. And if it's not, just because something sounds good and then you're good at it, does not mean that's the thing that you need to be doing in this life. It's not the thing that's going to create the most fulfillment for you. Or, yeah, because there's a total difference, you know, and I've said this here recently multiple times, between a wealthy life and a rich life. You know, we can create wealth with those things that we were just talking about that aren't actually soul aligned for us. We can create a lot of wealth with that. However, is it a rich wealth? You
Yeah.
know, and that's because the richness in life is what I feel like most of our souls long for, just not all of us know how to get to that space.
Yeah, that one is, I feel like that's a tricky one because I was having this conversation with my mom yesterday about a client of mine who she's a 1-3 profile in human design. I don't know if how familiar you are with human design, but that 3 line is really intended to learn by doing. It's a
Mhm.
trial and error. It's like there's a lot there, but I call it the can nobody tell me shit line because you have to like figure it out for yourself. Like somebody can tell you, oh, this is the correct path, but you have to try it on. You have to
Yeah,
like see that it doesn't work and say, or, be really excited about it and then find out it doesn't work and then shift and pivot and do something else and find your way like that. But we're all designed differently. We're all
yeah,
like designed to find those things that are in alignment, and, through a different path, essentially.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that reminds me of my my mom and dad have ascended now, but my dad's granny, when he was younger, used to tell him, "But with your own head, Donnie," because it was like that, like what you said, somebody could lay it out, but he was going to have to do it and fail at it before he realized, hey, I probably shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, he was probably a 3 line. He was probably a 3 line. My
Yeah,
son is that, and it drives me, sometimes it drives me completely crazy, but I'm like, I just see him for who he is, and I'm like,
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
find out.
And I think the perseverance, though, is really important. So when we do those things and we don't succeed at them, to realize that doesn't mean we're a failure in life, that we suck and as humans and we just should give it up, but to keep on doing and finding. And that curiosity is what comes in here too. Well, that didn't work. So what, I wonder what would work, and let's do something different and continue on with that until we figure it out and it all clicks into place for us.
Yeah, yeah, that, and I have a 6 line in my profile, and that like lives as a 3 line for the first 30 years of their life. And my daughter is the same. She has a 6 line. So I see her living her 3 line, but with the 6 line, you're looking for perfection.
Mm,
So I feel like my son is more resilient when he fails
yeah.
than she is. And I see that that's what I was explaining in the beginning. Like I feel like it helps me in my parenting because I can see their struggles and I can kind of have like a why behind and hopefully more tools based on having understanding of the why. But
Yeah, yeah, I can see that. That's really beautiful because that enables you to help them with tools that are going to help them move forward and not like just throw their hands up in the air and be like, fuck it.
yeah, yeah, I can't wait till they're like, I feel like they're maybe coming into an age where I could start sharing some of this with them so that they would have understanding. That's kind of a calling of mine, but I haven't jumped into it, but kind of creating something that would help children have understanding of their design. Because I feel like if I had understanding of a lot of this when I was much younger, I probably would have given myself a lot more grace.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I can see that too. Absolutely. So do you primarily work with people who have businesses and this is all structured around their businesses, or are you doing personal readings for people just to navigate life?
I would say I lean more into helping other entrepreneurs and small business owners with a business or starting a business.
Mhm.
I think it's like so powerful if you can start from like a ground level there. But I have done I do offer some readings on one of my websites that are more general. It can be kind of about anything, but I would say I have more experience in uncovering things from a more business perspective.
Mhm. It seems to flow for you, from my perspective, because of the other things you do. It kind of all holds hands together and just creates
Yeah.
a big, huge picture where you're able to see that and then create the websites and the other tools for people to use inside of that as well. So I think that's really beautiful.
Yeah, that's definitely my favorite way to work, to be able to integrate it all because it adds like richness
Yeah,
to all of
that
it.
richness we were just talking about, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
Being able to give yourself that is a beautiful gift. So I'm
Mhm.
really glad to see that there's someone out there that's doing this. And I really personally love the way you explain things and your gentleness and your openness and your curiosity about it and helping. I feel like
Thank
you would
you.
bring that out in the people that you're helping.
Yeah, I think I wasn't always this like soft. Like I have a lot of fire in my chart and I feel like I've softened in my adulthood here, but yeah.
Yeah, it takes life to file those edges off of us sometimes.
Definitely, yeah, definitely. Life has has.
I can relate to that. So what is your if someone was curious about working with you, what does that look like? What does your program entail? I guess is what I'm asking.
Gosh. I have a couple like more structured programs. Like I have a soul purpose activation, which is it can be for someone who's already got something going and they just kind of want to maybe they've been feeling like they can't see them in their brand or they know it's out of alignment. Where I do basically everything. I help them bring their, it could be a whole branding refresh, so like logo and design work, color palette, the language that they're using to share about their work, the like copywriting that goes onto their website, and just kind of getting a handle on their real like brand foundations. And
Mhm.
that's also creating a website, bringing in, I do like a reading for them. I do kind of multiple readings throughout the process. But that's kind of like my highest ticket offer where I do all of it and bring it all together in one thing. And then I also offer like kind of individual things. So you could do just like a reading, or I offer different like consulting sessions. So some of those could be just to do with, the visual aspect, or if, you just want to kind of integrate your astrology and human design stuff. I also do strategy sessions for things like SEO to teach people how to blog and integrate those keywords and different things into their website so they can be found on Google. I really, my thing is, to some extent, some of the stuff that I do is like done for you, but more than that, a lot of the other stuff, I want it to be empowering because I see what it's like as a solo entrepreneur to kind of be trying to do all the things. But I want to give people the tools so they can do all the things in the right way,
Right.
to make the most out of, if you're already a writer, let's make sure people are able to find your writing and just to kind of empower people to do their own behind the scenes work because it's not always feasible to bring a designer in for, oh, I have one new offer. Like I need to go
Right.
get somebody to update my WordPress site. Like I want to empower people to be able to take the reins on their own offerings and stuff.
Yeah, that's always a great thing to be able to do. So your extensive program, how long does that run? Is it multiple sessions or does it go?
I have it as like a 10-day like power sort of thing where there's a lot of, conversations happening in between. And for every person, it ends up looking a little bit different depending on where they're at and just how it flows for them. I think too, their unique design I take into consideration. So sometimes it might go a little bit longer because some of us are not designed to make decisions in the now. Some of
Right.
us really need like a lunar cycle, or so I'm kind of flexible with some of that because I have understanding that you know some of us, if you have a sacral authority, you can literally in the moment know whether something's correct for you or not, and you can trust that. And others of us, we have to wait, especially for something big. So it
Yeah.
just, yeah. I like for it to be compact, and I offer it as a 10-day experience for the ones who are like ready to like go. And I work quickly when I'm in it. I like to like immerse myself in a project and run with it. I feel like my brain works the best when I can do that. But like I said, sometimes we have to kind of break it in half, make it
Yeah.
work.
I love that you're flexible with that and you consider the needs of the person you're working with. So, because we're not all like that, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've worked with people who are on both ends, and it's like I'm working with one now who needed that extra time, and it's all good. It works out better for me than trying to like push something when someone is not in that place to make those kind of like in the now decisions.
Right.
Because then, I don't want them to have regret later. I don't want them to feel out of alignment later. And
Yeah.
it's better for me if I can go in and do the work when we're sure, when we feel confident. And
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. And I love that you do that. I'm grateful for the people to you for the fact that you do it that way because that is so beautiful. I love it.
Yeah.
So tell me, and our audience, where people can find you if they would love to work with you.
So for all of these like business related offerings, I'm at photodesigncompany.com and everything is there. I have an Instagram and a Facebook, but I do some posts there, but that is not, I haven't worked in like social media land with that business in like years. I was like all word of mouth for the longest time. And now I'm like integrating some of these other offerings and I'm like, okay, maybe I'll have to get out there a little bit again, but I see myself going back into my shell before long is my guess. And then for my art and some of my astrology offerings, I have a lot of self-paced astrology offerings on my other website, which is where my art lives. It's bonniesorsby.com. There's some really cool things for creatives really specifically and others just for entrepreneurs that are more like self-paced things to kind of help you learn to read your chart. And I have different things for like content creation, kind of helping people understand what sort of content is in alignment for certain placements in their chart. And I have some free offerings there too. I don't know. There's a lot there. I was a busy girl last year on there.
That's good. That's how we get things done, huh? We get
Yeah,
busy.
I was riding the wave for sure.
That's so cool. Well, Bonnie, thank you so much for being my guest today. I certainly appreciate this conversation, as I know all the listeners who tune in will as well. So I appreciate you. So
Yeah.
thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much for having me, for opening your space to me, and I've enjoyed it.
You're very welcome. I've enjoyed it as well. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in to another episode of Spiritually Speaking. As always, I appreciate each and every one of you. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. If you feel like someone that you know would enjoy this message and get something out of it, please don't forget to share it with them. Thank you all. And until next time, I love you all.